Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. And hopefully where you are, if you're down near the hurricane area, you're okay, and you're getting help from FEMA and anyone else who's down there trying to get things restored. I can't imagine how it is down there. I mean, I've been through one hurricane. Well, actually, I've been through two, but I think the worst one was when I was living in Florida. We had one that wasn't nearly as big as this, the one that hit there last night, but it was scary, you know. And I was like in first or second grade when we went through it down there, and seeing the roof of the porch being ripped off the side of the house there was like pretty scary, you know. But fortunately, that was the only damage we sustained in that, and we didn't really care that the roof was gone anyway. So, but it's just the idea that the wind was that strong. Yeah. But still, you know, hurricanes are scary. We actually had one come up into Maine. Was it in the late 80s, I think, I can't remember now when it was. It was been a while, but it did some damage, but nothing like anything that happened when I was in Florida during hurricane season. So, yeah, I mean, and the idea that Trump is out there trying to convince people that the government is not there helping these people or ignoring them is really laughable, because when he was president, what did he do to help people after a hurricane? He was throwing paper towels and he was holding back aid from FEMA and stuff. He was doing all the things that he's accusing Biden of doing, okay, which Biden isn't doing. And he had to actually come on TV and tell people what's going on. And he had to, you know, it's like, look, if you don't believe me, get in your damn vehicle, drive to Florida, and see for yourself how it's being taken care of, okay? You'll be surprised, because guess what? FEMA is there, you know. And, you know, a lot of these armchair Republicans that sit there and just soak up lies and propaganda and then believe that that's the reality are really the laziest kind of Americans you're ever going to run across, because they don't do the fucking legwork. They don't do the necessary research that they should be doing to double check Trump every time he talks. No, they won't do that. And so what he says is it's stone. That's, you know, in their head, whatever Trump says is set in stone. That's the reality. And, you know, fine. You want to live in that reality, go ahead. But every time you lose, okay, and you wonder why you're losing, you're going to have to go right back to the beginning, which is you believing everything he ever told you. Because that's the reason why you'll lose, you know. And when's the last time Trump won anything? You know, after he lost the White House, everything he was involved in for the, you know, Republicans he lost, you know, because as time went on, more and more people started to hate him. And one of the things that's happened here that you know, certain people have been following is this video here. If you'll watch it, it's about 15 minutes long. And it's talking about how Trump had missed the deadline on an agreement that he was supposed to sign to create a smooth transition of power if he's president. If he loses, and stuff, he'd have to, if he signed this agreement, he would have to agree to a peaceful transition of power. Okay, and he missed that deadline. He hasn't signed it, and it doesn't look like he really wants to make any agreement to that. If he wins and becomes president, it seems to me like he's going to stay president for however long he can breathe, I guess, and he's not going to agree to transfer a peaceful transfer of power for the next guy or a girl who comes around and wants to be president. And I think that's pretty telling right there about this guy. So let's go to that video here, and I'll catch you on the other side here.
This is Michael Popak, Legal AF. You know how I know that Donald Trump is relying on the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 to fill his administration? Because the New York Times is reporting that Donald Trump and his transition team has refused to sign 2 or 3 major required agreements with the current government in order to allow for a peaceful transfer of power. They haven't signed the documents. They're already late on their deadlines. They haven't properly started any type of transition, which would include them being able to vet appropriately the thousands of people that they would need to use to fill an administration, to get access to $7 million worth of money in order to do that, to get office space, to have access to top secret and classified documents. They've refused to conduct themselves in a way that will allow for a peaceful transition. That tells me 2 things. 1, they're not in favor of a peaceful transition. They don't care about a peaceful transition. They want it to be as chaotic and rocky as possible. And 2, they want to hide their donors and try to raise as much grift as they possibly can before they have to sign those documents at the very last minute. Once they sign the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, with the General Services Administration, the GSA, they won't be able to raise more than $5,000 per donor. They don't want to do that. They want to raise tens of millions of dollars from undisclosed donors until they have to sign at the very last minute this document. It is undermining our national security by Donald Trump playing again fast and loose with ethics rules and refusing to sign transitional documents in case somehow he wins the election. He's making our country more vulnerable, more prone to being exploited by our foreign enemies because he wants to continue to raise money from people that he doesn't want to disclose who they are. Now, Donald Trump has a history of doing this. As you may recall, when he lost the first time, but would not acknowledge that he had lost, kept the fraud alive, that he had somehow been denied the election, claimed outcome determinative fraud when there was none. He basically ordered the head of the General Services Administration, a little known agency in government, but very, very powerful. It's in charge of how you fill out the civil service positions, what kind of office space within Washington you're going to be allowed to have, and things like that. You signed the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, with the GSA. And the GSA head at the time, who I never heard of before, but I had to do hot takes about this, she refused to allow the incoming Biden administration to start the peaceful transition of power. She refused to give them access to office space. She refused to give them access to money that they needed for the transition. She refused to give them access to classified documents and information. She refused to enter into an MOU with the Biden administration. Eventually, the American people sort of demanded that, but it was a 3-week delay before that was 3 weeks of lost planning, lost peaceful transfer, lost appropriate transition. At a time when this country is constantly either at war or planning a war or involved with our allies in a war. Donald Trump's doing it all again. This time, he doesn't want to have his people sign the ethics code because he's unethical. He doesn't want his people to take the $7.2 million because he won't be able to take much more than that, 4 or 5 or 6 times more than that in multiples from his private donors. He doesn't want to release his donor list. He doesn't care about the American people or the peaceful transfer of power because he has no intention of agreeing to a peaceful transfer of power, even if he wins. If he loses, certainly not. We will be embroiled in another imbroglio, another delay, a foot drag that like we've never seen before. It'll make January 6th, 2020 look like kindergarten. So the takeaways from why wouldn't Donald Trump want to start a peaceful transfer of power, even if it meant him winning? In other words, why is he screwing up the transition to his own administration? And it's easy. Don't look for the hard answer. Look for the simple answer. 1, he's not planning on a peaceful transfer. 2, he doesn't need the General Service Administration. Everybody's excited in New York. He doesn't need the General Service Administration. He doesn't need access to their civil servant lists. He doesn't need to vet future bureaucrats and civil servants or other people in government through the GSA because he's outsourced it entirely to the Heritage Foundation, to Project 2025, and to their 18,000 person database. Forget what his campaign is saying. Forget what his presidential transition team is saying, headed by a Wall Street bigwig and Linda McMahon, right, from the World Wrestling Enterprise, WWE. The reason that Howard Lutnick and Linda McMahon have not signed these agreements, and they're late in doing so, in violation of every nonpartisan group out there talking about the need to do this in a complicated world and putting our country at risk, is because they want to continue to raise money and dark money behind the scenes. They don't want the donor list to get out. They are using Heritage Foundation and the database to vet people. They're bringing in 2025 acolytes. The shadow government and government in exile will be put into office, and they don't need the GSA to look over their shoulder and tell them what to do. And they don't want to sign ethics rules or commitments to a peaceful transfer. It's there. That's it. There's no, with Donald Trump, let me just tell you something. With Donald Trump, it's never an elaborate, complicated scheme that you can't figure out. He's not that bright. You know, when he did his fraud 10 years straight related to the Trump Organization, the operation of his business, you know what his fraud was? It was an eraser on a pencil. It was making up numbers on a sheet of paper that represented his net worth, his personal financial statement. Bernie Madoff at least went through the exercise in running his Ponzi scheme, keeping the regulators at bay for so many years and doing a lot more elaborate things than Donald Trump. So when Donald Trump commits a fraud or he is committing a heist in plain sight, never look for complicated. It's always tremendously simple. There's no other answer. And I defy, we can leave in comments right here. Tell me, I'm happy to hear any alternative rationale, right? Anybody from the presidential transition team? Anybody? Anybody in that camp? The two heads, Don Jr., Vance. You want to send your people here? Leave me a comment. Tell me another good reason that's not the nefarious one that I've just outlined, why Donald Trump is refusing to sign the 3 required agreements on ethics, security clearance, and a memorandum of understanding to get the money from the GSA and start a transition, other than what I've outlined. I'm sorry that mine makes perfect sense and it tracks completely and connects all the dots very, very efficiently, but that's the reality. And I credit the reporting of the New York Times and Ken Bensinger himself. I thought he did a very, very good job here at outlining it. I want to move it forward. Donald Trump has a lot of experience with this MOU because he refused to enter into it on the other half when the Biden administration was coming in. As I said before, instead he put pressure on and leaned on this administrator, she's no longer there, for the General Service Administration, who I'd never heard of before. But suddenly for that moment, for that 2 weeks, she was the most powerful person in the world. She was blocking and locking the door to the incoming Biden administration because she didn't want to piss off Donald Trump because she was scared of him. It's obvious. So they have no respect. That's one of my biggest pet peeves and criticisms of Donald Trump and all the people around him. They're carrying his water and are enabling him. He has no respect for the institution of the presidency, no respect for the Constitution, no respect for the 3 co-equal branches of government, the rule of law, no respect for norms and decorum. He thinks he's some sort of Wall Street broker or trader. He thinks he's some sort of World Wrestling Federation hero or heel. It's a perfect combination for his transition team. A Wall Street guy and Linda McMahon, it's perfect for the storytelling and the narrative that they're telling here. And that's all it is storytelling and fiction. It's a complete fraud and a complete fiction. And so they won't abide by any of the norms. That's why we don't have his medical records or any kind of proper medical vetting other than MAGA, super MAGA doctors like Ronnie Jackson, who used to be his personal doctor in the White House and now is, as a Texas congressperson. That's why we don't have his medical records. That's why we don't have his tax returns. He doesn't do anything that the public has demanded and required by ethics, by transparency, by full disclosure, because he doesn't want it disclosed. Because his closet's so filled with skeletons, you can't even close the closet. I'm going to continue to follow it all. Everything that explains Donald Trump's mental state or lack thereof, his lack of ethics, his lack of character. I always say that you can judge somebody, their character is what they do when nobody's looking, not what they do in public. And when nobody was looking, Donald Trump was refusing to do, and is currently, at the time of this hot take, refusing to do a peaceful transfer of power and wants to hide his donor list, his money. He wants to keep his people unethical, not required to comply with ethics, and put this country at risk as a result, because it's going to be a failed transition that's going to compromise American values and interests. If, God forbid, heaven help us, Donald Trump gets reelected. There's a way to fight that at the ballot box, November the 5th. Early voting has started. Register to vote. If you haven't already, follow perfectly and precisely all of the rules and regulations that your state has put up as a barrier to entry to voting. Don't let them disenfranchise you. Do everything you can to early vote or mail-in vote or absentee vote or show up on the day of election on November the 5th and vote. And work hard to ensure that your ballot is not piled up in a provisional ballot pile, but is actually counted. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, and it may be on the new Legal AF MTN channel for Midas Touch Network. It's a collaboration of Legal AF and Midas Touch Network. It's to gather up all this law and politics intersection stuff, the commentary and the analysis that you've come to respect and enjoy, and have it also in one place, parallel and in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network. Legal AF MTN, free subscribe, and help us over there fight for democracy. Until my next hot take, it's Michael Popak, and I'm reporting.
All right, so, you see what I mean? He wants to hide donor lists and all kinds of shit. Right from the very beginning, okay, this guy wants it his way all the way. He wants to be a dictator, right? When he said he's only going to be a dictator on day one, well, guess what? You only need to be a dictator for 5 minutes in order to be a dictator for life. Because once you start in on that path of having everything you say become the rule of law, after the first day, your government that you once knew you had will be gone. He only needs to be dictator for 1 day. And after that, it's forever. And God help anybody that tries to unseat him, because he'll abuse the power of the office to eradicate any opposition. Just like Putin does. He loves the idea of being like Vladimir Putin. He wants to be Putin. Okay? That's why he's been talking to him after all this time, since he lost the election. He's been talking buddy with Putin for years. After that, that ought to really, really give people the, send some chills up your back that this guy has been chumming around with Putin here for quite a while, back and forth talking, because that makes you wonder if Trump is seated in the White House, is he really going to be the one in charge, or will it be Putin? Will Putin be pulling Trump's chain? Will he be telling Trump what to do? Just by the very nature that he's talking to this guy so much, tells you he's selling us out, and MAGA seems okay with that, so that means they're sellouts. Okay, they're also traitors to the country. So if you're a MAGA, you're a traitor. That's how you That's how we figure that. We're not trying to just throw a name at you. We're telling you, this is what it means to be a traitor. If you're going to support a man who's siding with Vladimir Putin, right now, we're not so happy with him right now. We're not really allies with him either. But Trump has made an ally with Putin. And who's pulling whose chain here? If Trump has said so much about Ukraine should just simply walk away from this war and give Putin what he wants, it's saying that, that democracy that Ukraine is trying to create, they should surrender it and give in to the dictator. So he's not on the side of democracy. Do you see what I'm saying? He's not on the side of democracy. He would just assume the United States follow suit and say, look, we should be allied with Russia because Putin is such a great guy. He loves me. He loves everything I do. And so, it's not so bad to be a communist country. And that's funny because, you got all the MAGAs out there accusing Democrats of being communists, right? But yet you got Donald Trump actually working and talking to Putin, communist, right? And he's okay with communism, apparently. So that should be okay with MAGA. So MAGA, shut up and stop calling Democrats communists because you're just saying you want to be Democrats, right? Because if we're communists and you guys are supporting a communist, hey, you see how your logic really is so fucked up. I mean, this is the reason why nobody takes you people serious, okay? You come on, my blogs and stuff like that, you insult me, you berate me and all this stuff. And it really doesn't impact me at all because it's like a 2-year-old saying, you're fat, you're stupid. I mean, I can't help but just giggle at that, hearing that. I'm the same thing. You guys mean nothing to me. You MAGA people are hurling insults at me and it doesn't hurt. I don't care what you say. You can come up with the worst friggin' insult in the world and it's just going to go right over my head. I don't care. I just don't care. And you people you really don't have any clout to be standing on a high ground, if there is such a thing for you guys, okay? There is no high ground for MAGA. Not this time, okay? Maybe, in the before time, before you people existed, there might have been a high ground for some of you folks, but you gave that up, especially when you did this, when you supported this abortion ban. You lost that high ground. You cut yourself right off from, 3/4 of the fucking country. And all I could say is, hey, that's the price you pay for the arrogance you have. You lose all the women voters in this country. Good luck. Good luck trying to win dog catcher. As far as I'm concerned, that's never going to happen. Women will never trust you again. And that goes for Trump too. You really put your foot in your ass, and kicked hard when you did that, okay? And in some bizarre world you live in, you think you did right. That's only because you're not in touch with reality. You really don't know what goes on in this country. You really don't. The things that you say, a lot of things that you talk about sound like statements that were made like in the 1930s or something. You're so far behind where this country is, idealistically, that, you just don't understand what this country is and where we are as a nation. You just don't acknowledge it, okay? You want to go around with your hand out where people are kissing your ring everywhere you go. But something? Americans don't like that, okay? Real Americans. We don't go for that. We don't bow to every asshole that happens to have some money, okay, and think that they're God. We don't do that. Okay, in this country, everybody is equal. That's what we believe. People are all equal. No one person is above the other. And you certainly are not above us, okay? You might have more money than most Americans do, but guess what? You still put your pants on one leg at a time like everybody else does, okay? And guess what? We've seen things about you that make you less than the rest of us. The dirty shit you do. The things you think about and fantasize about, the people you hang around with, okay? These are all people that the rest of us would just say, I don't want nothing to do with you. You, you know, you're a snowball headed for hell. But you're happy hanging around with people like Jeffrey Epstein and folks like that. Okay? Hey, you know, hey. And MAGA, they love that too. You know? They love to have criminals walk out on the stage supporting Trump and all that. Okay? I'm sorry, but you guys are living in a world of your own creation. And unfortunately, for some of you, it's getting really, really sick in there, in that world. And a lot of you people want out. And some of you have left. And more of you will as time goes on, you know. And I think when this election happens, you're going to find out just how many people really do think that Trump ought to be president. And you know, it's gonna really upset a lot of you people's day. You know, I hope you're ready for that, because it's coming. All right, let's go to a commercial break. Come back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
What will you tell your kids? That you voted for a felon and a criminal, supported a man found guilty by a citizen jury, went into the voting booth happy to pull the lever for the only former president in history to bear the mark of criminal shame. Will you tell them that breaking the law is how they should live their lives? That lying to their families about porn stars and hush money is how they should behave? Do you want your son to treat women like a man who was found to have committed sexual assault? Do you want your daughter to be a victim of a man like him?
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
Hey, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the...
Will you tell them that he was honest, that he was a good man?
Very fine people on both sides.
That he treated people the way you've taught them?
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Will you tell them you're proud of his cruelty? Happy with the ugly insults?
I mean, I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers.
The attacks on women and the endless lies, that the chaos, death, and danger he brought was worth it. We know it's hard to walk away and put country over party, but your kids are watching. You're not just voting for your future, you're voting for theirs.
He's too old. He's out of touch, losing his marbles at an alarming rate.
They have sinks where no water comes out. You turn it on, no water comes out. You want to wash your hands, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen this, and you turn on the sink and it's very little.
I do want to remind everybody, this is the guy that worked with the former Klansman.
I will be Donald Trump's most loyal advocate to make sure his nominees go to the Supreme Court.
Full of his struggles and ramblings and rantings and mumbling and bumbling and stumbling. You decide. Take a look.
They've deliberately surrendered our border to vicious coyotes and drug smugglers. I mean, these drug smugglers, the smuggler.
I find it awkward. I find it embarrassing. He's really in the early stages of some kind of senile dementia.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings.
It's more than awkward and embarrassing. It's actually dangerous. Having someone with his mental state, to me, is terrifying.
She speaks in rhyme.
In rhyme?
What do you...
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird.
He can't finish a sentence.
Anonymous, really anonymous.
The man doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know where the exit is. He's not sure how to get through his speech.
Mr. President, you need to sign it.
Old, outdated, retire, elderly, aging, senile, dementia, slow, confused, idiot, ignorant, sleepy, gaff, bumbling, bad, terrible, disappointing, joke, profanity.
Being corrupt is bad. Being corrupt and senile is even worse.
Welcome to the Trump 2024 convention, brought to you by Project 2025. This week in the horrible city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you'll see the best of the Trump Project 2025 party. It's a bold vision for a bright future. With Trump Project 2025, you'll love how new tariffs will make everything more expensive and set off runaway inflation. We know you'll appreciate paying for the big tax cut our struggling billionaires need. When you seniors are done freeloading, check out Project 2025's plan to end Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So get out of that nursing home bed and get back to work. And ladies, this convention has so much in store for you. With Project 2025, you'll learn how good you'll have it in the kitchen. Girls, if your marriage isn't working out, you'll need Project 2025's helpful tips to keep the romance alive, even if he's abusive, because we're getting rid of divorce. And if Mr. Wrong gets you pregnant, welcome to motherhood, because we've ended Roe v. Wade and we're going to criminalize birth control. And minorities, well, you didn't need those silly voting rights anyway. For you Jews, Muslims, Mormons, and other fake religions, you'll get a head start on learning America is a Christian nation. Project 2025 is Donald Trump's plan for your future, and it couldn't be any brighter.
Project 2025 Bright Future Guarantee applies to white evangelical Christian men only. Other conditions may apply. Offer not valid in a functioning republic.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Everybody, welcome back. Okay, there's this article here from NBC that I want to read, and it's pretty interesting, I think. It's written by Rob Wiley, entitled "Inflation Cools to the Lowest Level Since February of 2021." Inflation has come full circle for the Biden administration. Consumer price growth slowed to its lowest pace since February 2021, the first full month President Joe Biden was in office. The Labor Department said Thursday in its final inflation report before Election Day. The data, while a bit hotter than expected, points to an economy experiencing cooler inflation even as the job market remains sturdy and interest rates ease. The 12-month Consumer Price Index measured 2.4% in September, slightly higher than expectations of 2.3%, but down from 2.5% in August. On a month-to-month basis, the index climbed 0.2%, just above expectations of 0.1%. Food and shelter recorded outsized price growth. Grocery prices, led by meat and eggs, rose 1.3%, while the cost of food away from home climbed 3.9%. Housing costs climbed 4.9% last month from the year before. The latter helped push the core measure of inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, up 0.3% on the month, higher than the 0.2% forecast. Even as inflation has normalized, many households are still adjusting to prices that are more than 21% higher on average than in early 2020, with some goods and services having surged even more. Pay gains, however, have more than kept pace, as they've done for roughly the last 2 years. Adjusted for inflation, average hour earnings climbed 1.5% as of September from the same time last year. Those net income gains have chugged along, even as consumers' attitudes have remained relatively downbeat. A government analysis this summer found the average U.S. worker can afford the same set of goods and services he or she did in 2019 and still pocket an extra $1,400 each year. Overall, the post-COVID U.S. economy has continued to be the envy of most industrialized nations, but there are still some signs that growth is slowing. Following Thursday's inflation report, separate data from the Labor Department showed an uptick in jobless claims. The major stock indexes pared back gains in pre-market trading Thursday morning, while traders upped the odds that the Federal Reserve will lower interest rates by 0.25 point at its meeting next month. Higher costs remain the top-ranked issue of concern for voters heading into November's election. Former President Trump has sought to tie Vice President Harris, the Democrat presidential nominee, to those price increases, accusing her of sitting by while the Biden administration approved spending, he says, has helped fuel the inflation boom. But economists remain uncertain about the extent to which the fiscal stimulus has influenced inflation, with many saying supply chain issues and changes in consumer behavior have played equal or greater roles. Trump has not offered a detailed economic plan, besides proposing a blanket set of tariffs of up to 20% that he says would boost jobs and raise revenues, outcomes many economists have disputed. Harris has proposed measures including capping rent and grocery prices, and rent and grocery price increases, capping those policies whose efficacy, let alone ability to get approved by lawmakers, have likewise been met with skepticism by some analysts. Harris has narrowed the gap in some surveys, but about which presidential candidate would be better on economic issues, but Trump still leads on that metric. While the candidates agree high prices are hurting consumers, the nation is also divided over the state of the economy. According to the most recent University of Michigan Consumer Survey, Republicans' ratings of current economic conditions are at the lowest levels on record, while Democrats' views are nearly 3 times as favorable. The Biden-Harris administration has been enjoying a tailwind in the form of minimal growth in gasoline prices. Compared with the same period a year ago, the average price of a gallon of fuel is 50 cents cheaper, according to AAA. Prices could begin to creep up again amid turmoil in the Middle East that has already sent oil prices higher, but for now, one of the most visible signs of living costs remains muted. Thursday's inflation numbers could cause Wall Street to pair expectations of an interest rate cut at the Federal Reserve's next meeting in November, following an unexpectedly strong jobs report last week. Excuse me. Traders virtually erased the odds of another half-point cut, and heading into Thursday, they had increased the odds of no cut at all to more than 1 in 5. In its most recent reading, the National Federation of Independent Business, which represents small business owners, found its uncertainty reading had hit an all-time high. Quote, uncertainty makes owners hesitant to invest in capital spending and inventory, especially as inflation and financing costs continue to put pressure on their bottom lines, unquote, NFIB economist Bill Dunkelberg said. Quote, although some hope lies ahead in the holiday sales season, many Main Street owners are left questioning whether future business conditions will improve, unquote. Well, I can answer that to some degree. If you put Trump in office, they certainly hell won't. Okay? His idea is going to spark inflation in this country, and it might even cut out some jobs. He wants to do trade wars again. Okay? And we saw how wonderful that worked the last time he was in and did that. Okay? I'm sorry. This is not the time to be fighting with other countries right now with tariffs. Okay, you want to upset that fucking boat. You want to sit in that canoe and tip it. That's the best way to do it right there, is to say, look, we're going after China and we're going to put tariffs, and what other farmers are going to lose their farms over that? Or because, you know, China will retaliate just like they did back then, which killed off a whole swath of farmers in this country. And a lot of people don't remember that, you know. But that's not that far back. That's just what, you know, before Biden was president. Okay, when that shit happened, everybody seems to have forgotten about that. That when Trump started that trade war with China, the farmers in this country took a hell of a beating from that. Okay, and you know, it's amazing how short people's memories are when it comes to crap like that. You know, it's almost like you have to give people like newsletters or something to put or to file away for future reference, you know, in case you can't remember what happened. You know, go back in your files and take a look at what went on at this time, such and such date. This is what happened, you know, and yet they want people their kids not to go to school and learn anything about history. Okay, I mean, if our memories are that short and we don't teach our kids history, in less than 100 years, no one's even going to remember when this country was founded, why we have a flag. You know, why is there 50 states? You know, they're going to, everyone's going to think about Civil War. There was a Civil War, World War II. Are you kidding me? I can't believe that. You know, everything's going to be like, you know, a mess. People aren't going to know a goddamn thing about where the hell what we're about, what we're from, what our country stands for, what the national anthem is. I mean, people, even professionals, can barely sing the national anthem now. They you know, it's a wonder if they can ever get through it. You know, so you stop teaching history in just maybe 1 or 2 generations, you're going to have a bunch of dumb people out there who aren't going to know a damn thing about anything. No. And like I said, with the economy the way it is right now, okay, and you got Trump out there talking about things that he wants to do if he's president that he has already done when he was president and failed. And people and the MAGA's like, yeah, let's do that again. Let's do it all over again. You know, some of you MAGA nuts were farmers and you lost everything because of what Trump did. Jesus Christ, you know. And yet they're out there and they've forgotten about it. You know, it's like, do you guys even realize why you lost your house? You know, do you remember what happened? You know, no, in some convoluted way, they managed to say that they lost everything because of, let's see, the Democrats somehow did it. Yeah, they have executive authority there somehow to be able to launch tariff wars, right? That, you know, even though Trump was president, somehow the Democrats did it, you know? Jesus. Can you explain that to me in a way that matches what we learned in high school about civics 101? I can't imagine how these people can really, they got to twist themselves into pretzels in order to come to these fucking theories that they have, or these conspiracy ideas that they walk around living in. God, these people are bizarre. Weird is just not a big enough word, really, to encompass Trump and the people that follow him. Really, think about that. Weird is reserved for people who have a certain personality trait that others don't, you know, they can still function in society to a degree, you know, but they got quirks and stuff, you know, they laugh at things other people wouldn't laugh at. You know, I would consider that being weird, but when you're talking about Trump, weird, no, that he doesn't belong in that category. Something, there's got to be another word for that. Weird just isn't strong enough, okay? And those people that follow Trump, definitely, they're not weird. They don't belong in weird, okay? They're their own kind of people. Maybe we should do something with that, you know, MAGA, and make that some kind of a word, okay? If you, instead of calling them weird, they're MAGA, you know, MAGA. Just call them, they're MAGA. And people say, well, what's that mean? And then, well, you know, it's sort of like the N word. You know, we have to, some of us, you know, still have to wonder where that even came from, you know, and we have to be sat down and told, well, this is how that word came to be. And MAGA, well, MAGA is going to have to be a word like that, because there's no really other word that really encompasses the totality of these people's, you know, intelligent or lack of intelligence that they have, and the gullibility that they also have to believe everything that one man tells them. Hitler would have loved these fucking people. You know what I'm saying? He really would have. You know, Hitler would have loved these Americans. He could have, instead of going into Germany, you know, and getting an army there, he should have come to this country and started that shit, you know, because, you know, at least then he'd have had a superior army. But no. But, you know, those were different times, okay? I guess that wouldn't be fair to even bring up those days, because Americans were smarter back then about politics than they are today. Certainly MAGA would have been laughed out of the fucking country if such people were if our intelligence was still like it was then. But today there's so much people that, you know, so many Americans that don't even want to be American, for Christ's sake. You know, it's like just the word America, United States, infuriates certain people on the right. You know, it's like, well, look, I told these people before in the previous video, if you don't like it here, there's no lock on the door to leave, okay? That door swings both ways. You can leave, give up your citizenship, and pick the country of your desires if you want to live. You want to live in Russia? Go right ahead and do so. You want to go to China? They'll happily take you. Probably never see you again, you know, or go to North Korea, and you definitely won't be seen again. But, you know, pick the country of your choice, okay? Do that. You know, you might find yourself happier someplace else, okay? Because, look, I can understand not everybody wanting to be born into a country and having to live in a country that they don't like. If it doesn't suit their needs, then certainly, you know, you have the right as an American to not be American and just leave this country and go live somewhere else. Nobody's going to stop you, okay? And that goes for the veterans, too. I mean, yeah, some of you people are, there's some veterans out there that are MAGA, you know, and as sickening as that sounds, that's true, they are. People that took an oath to defend the country are now taking an oath to orange Hitler there to destroy this country, okay? They can't convince me beyond any level why what they're doing is right, okay? I think they're all traitors. I'm a veteran myself, and I would happily call these people traitors to their face for not sticking to the oath that they made when they were younger, and doing what they made an oath to do, okay? Just because they're veterans now and they're not in uniform doesn't necessarily mean that that oath has been, you know, removed. No, you take an oath like that, that's for life, okay? Even as a veteran, you're still responsible, you know, to live up to your promise. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are, you know, generals that are our age or older that are still, you know, under that oath and everything. And there's a lot of these people, these generals and stuff, who will not support Trump. And if that means anything to veterans today, okay, then that tells you just what Trump really is, okay? And the fact that you guys think it's okay that he goes and he does these things at Arlington Cemetery, and that he says nasty shit about people who fought for the country, okay, and you guys think that's okay, you can't possibly be respected as a veteran. Okay, you really can't expect to get respect from other, from regular, people who didn't serve in the military when people thank you for your service, and you're the one that's actually undermining the country by supporting Trump, and yet you want people to thank you for your service. No. These people, you don't deserve to be thanked for your service if you're turning your back on your country. You need to understand that right now. These people should be spitting in your face, just like they did to the Vietnam veterans that came home, okay, when they were calling them baby killer and stuff like that. You need to be put back to that point, okay, because you lost your respect for the country and the respect for yourself, okay? You lost the respect for yourself by siding with Donald Trump, because Trump doesn't respect you. He doesn't respect this country and what it stands for. He doesn't respect our government and how it functions. Okay? You get stuff like that from people that live in these third world countries who are beating their citizens to death, at constant war with their neighboring countries. That's the kind of country you're trying to turn America into, where we're at war with everybody. Okay, where Americans are not even safe even in their own yards. Okay, you're trying to make America into that by supporting people like Donald Trump and those that support him. You really ought to be ashamed of yourself for that. And that hat that you wear that says you were a veteran of this war, take it off. You don't deserve to wear that. Because if, just put that red hat on, that's the hat you need to wear. I mean, that to me is like the Ku Klux Klan robe. Instead of the white robe, okay, you're wearing the red hat now. That's what you should be wearing on your head, because you love that more than being a veteran and having been a soldier for this country. Think about that. That's what you're telling people. Yeah, I fought. You got a Purple Heart. You fought in Vietnam. You fought for this war. You fought in that war, Persian Gulf, whatever. Whatever fucking war you were in. Okay? If you're supporting Trump, you need to take that veteran hat off. You don't deserve to wear it. Because you're turning your back on your country. You're turning your back on everything it stands for. Why are we living in this country? You got to ask yourself that. Why are we here? Why do we say that this is the beacon of hope to the rest of the world? If you don't believe in any of those things, my God, people, you don't even, you spent all that time in the military and learned nothing. What did you do? You just got drunk whenever you wanted. You chased women. You got, you raped or whatever the fuck you did. And all that time while you was wearing the uniform, you didn't fucking understand why you was wearing it. Jesus Christ. I mean, you actually went through a fucking war and fought, took orders from people, okay, to kill. And you never even thought, why am I doing this? Why did I join the service? Why did I do this? Okay? And then you come back pissed off, but yet you want everybody to thank you for your service. I'm sorry, but you don't get that. You don't earn that because you went through misery and came home. Okay? People that do heroic things for their country get gratitude for their service. But you didn't do it for your country, did you? You went in the military. You didn't go in there for your country. You did it for yourself. You wanted to do something else. You went in there for selfish reasons. And you did just like what Trump's doing. He wants to be president for selfish reasons. It's not because he wants to serve us as a president. It's not because he wants to be a beacon of hope for the rest of the world. No. He's in it for himself. And maybe that's part of the reason why so many MAGA veterans out there support him, because they see something of themselves in Trump. That selfishness is their common denominator. It's sad in a way, because I think that, for all of us and all our patriotism and everything that we try to educate our kids about. You know, respect your, you know, your elders, respect veterans, respect these people. You know, they've done things so you can do this, so you can have this advantage in your life that you wouldn't get anywhere else, okay? We fought to make sure that that would still be there for you when it was time for you to go on your own, okay? Some of you people, you did all this because you had families already. You had kids and stuff at home, okay? And that's fine. If you think that you did what you did in the military because you had a family and you had kids, okay. You know, but there's more to it than just that, okay? You know, you have to, you know, you've got the flag on your uniform, okay? You got the pride of the country there. It means you're not just fighting for your family, you're fighting for everybody, every citizen, no matter which, you know, no matter, even the people you don't like, okay? You know, if you got racist attitudes, you're even fighting for them, whether you like it or not. But, you know, you came back and you're upset, you're pissed off. Some of you aren't getting the help you're supposed to be getting as a veteran, you know, from, you know, therapists or whatever it is. You need to talk this shit out, okay? And come and get out of that fucking dreary bullcrap that you're living in that makes you susceptible to believing in somebody like Trump who thinks he's got you, you know, by the crotch, okay? And you guys let him believe that, and you follow him, and he's got you doing all kinds of heinous things, and some of you are sitting in prison right now because you listen to him. And then, you know what I'm talking about, January 6th. Some of you people on that ground that day were veterans, okay? You know, the videos showing people wearing hats with veteran things on it, you know? Okay, we saw you, you know, that, and you didn't even cover your face. You were so proud of what you were doing then, you know, that's such a 180 from the person you were when you stood before the flag took the oath of office, or the oath of your uniform that you were going to defend this country. You know, what happened to you, you know, that you could be so jaded, you know, that you would turn your back on your own country, the country your family lives in, you know? Come on. Kamala Harris is out there right now talking about things to try to help this country. She's talking about keeping our military strong. She's talking about trying to end conflict in other parts of the world. She's talking about trying to uplift people to get them the opportunities that are otherwise they're not able to get opportunities so they can better themselves and push forward in life, okay? She's not out there talking about, oh, I'm going to stay president no matter what. You know, she's not out there trying to, you know, hide donor lists. She's not out there trying to, you know, vow that on the first day she takes the office that she's going to be a dictator. Okay, do you hear any of that nonsense come out of here? Because I sure as hell don't. And if she did say any of that stuff, you people would be the first ones out there to bitch and complain about that. But it's okay if it comes out of your orange Hitler. Okay? Jesus. You know, I just, the hypocrisy, the stupidity that comes out of the right, or out of MAGA. You know, I really need to start remembering that the MAGA and the Republican Party are two different things. Okay? Because there's people in the Republican Party who want nothing to do with Donald Trump. They've said as much. You know who they are. There's over 200 some odd fucking people in the Republican Party today who said they will not endorse that son of a bitch. Because they know what he is. Christ, I mean, he's like, he's just the worst thing that's ever happened to this country. You know, and you would never think one person could be like that. But then you forget, we've had people in this world where just, you know, that person created a world that created an environment that never would have been created otherwise if they weren't there, like Hitler. That's a guy, one man with a big mouth who managed to do things in his country that brought it to its fucking knees. You know, and if it hadn't been for the United States to help rebuild that country, Germany would be nothing but the surface of the moon right now still. Okay? But the thing of it is that, yes, one man can destroy a country, but one person can also save it at the same time. Trump is he's a destroyer. Kamala is trying to save it. She's trying to save it from him. Right now, Biden saved this country from a inevitable, well, we thought was inevitable. He saved us from having an economic meltdown, thanks to Trump. He saved us from that, okay? And because he didn't save it fast enough for some of you people, you think he failed. No, he didn't fail, okay? Because the alternative would have been more problems for you as a citizen if he hadn't have been president, okay? That would have been the alternative. It's too bad that we can't see the paths that we could have taken and compared them to the path we're on, okay? But those paths will never be seen by us, okay, because we've avoided them. But we can still link up to that path if we put the dingbat back in office that almost put us on that path in the first place. He's getting a second shot at doing that again. And those people, those Republicans who died under Trump the first time when he was president, the million Americans who died, are screaming their heads off from the grave to stay the fuck away from him. Are you going to ignore that too? I mean, come on. Think about that for a minute. Those people who died believing everything he said, it cost them their life. A lot of these people were noted Republican commentators, people who worked for like Fox News, and some of them had their own radio shows down in Florida and stuff like that. A lot of Republicans would not take the vaccines, believed everything Trump was saying about the CDC, and they got sick and they died. And you know, for some reason the rest of the MAGA party just seemed to, you know, ignore that. It didn't matter to me. So you didn't even care about some of your own dying. Okay? You people are heartless. You don't even stand up for each other. Christ, that's not an America I want. You know? So, I know I'm going a little overboard here, but you know, when you get me talking about people who claim to be patriotic Americans and at the same time they wear the fucking red hat, okay? That's like watching the Klan marching down the street. They're saying, they got an American flag. We're Americans to a degree, you know. No, if you're American, there is no limit, okay? You're either an American or you're not. You can't have it your way. It's not Burger King. If you're an American, you have to accept everything that this country stands for, okay? You can't have it your way. And too many of you MAGA people, I guess you eat too much at Burger King, which, you know, that's a little side thing, but I think a lot of Republicans do eat at Burger King, as a matter of fact. I really do think that that's a truth, because, you know, I've been in and out of those restaurants quite a few times, and I've seen a lot of red hats in there eating. That's something about Burger King, I guess. Anyway, okay, that's enough for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend and upcoming weekend that's coming here. So subscribe, comment, and share. All right, and keep your ears open for health-related issues. All right, and treat each other nice out there. I know it's getting close to the election moment, so there's going to be a lot of strife and agitation out there. And everybody that in the hurricane areas, I'm wishing you all the luck that there is out there. I'll even give some of my luck to you, just so you guys can survive. I don't want to see people down there hurt. I don't even care if you're MAGA. If you're going through hell right now, you deserve as much help as everybody else, okay? But, you know, if you can help each other too at the same time, that helps lift everybody working together as a community. That's a good feeling when everybody comes together in times like this and tries to help each other out. So let's try to do that. That'd be greatly appreciated. So I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.